Hello, this is Ender and welcome to my VRcade, where today I'm going to be showing you many of the modifications that Catwalk C2 owners have made to their own treadmills on the community Discord. And I want to note very clearly, in no uncertain terms, that these modifications are shared for entertainment purposes, and should you choose to make these mods of your own volition, that is your own responsibility and your own choice, and you do not hold Cat VR, myself, or anyone else responsible for these modifications which you may or may not choose to make. They will almost certainly void your warranty. They are not approved by me or the manufacturer. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and check these mods out. All right, so I'm going to start with one of the more perhaps exciting and perhaps riskier modifications to make. If you may remember from my original 1 month review of the Catwalk C2 Plus, immediately one of the things I did was copy someone else's mod who put Velcro on the bottom of his shoe. That really did help with the speed and slipperiness of the shoe, which is great. But you can see here on the shoe on the left, I have the unmodified shoe on the right, modified shoe on the left. I do have two pairs of shoes in the same size, so I could try things like this out. And you can see that Velcro has gotten pretty gummed up with silicone lube that's included. You can see a little bits of green from my backdrop and things like that. Another thing I noticed is that it doesn't really affect the slipperiness having that lubrication trapped in the hook side of the fastener, but it does collect a lot of dust and grime and dirt. And as some others have noted, that will actually reduce your slipperiness and make it harder to move along on the dish of the C2. And I will get more into alternative lubrication for your treadmill in a little bit, but you can see there it's got some gunkiness in there and not ideal. Another issue as well is you can see here I have this in the quote veteran mode, where I've removed all the softer covering Velcro that creates resistance when you're learning how to use the device, so it's not too slippery. You probably have realized, as I have, that once you get used to it, you just take all that off and it's not slippery enough. So you can see I've removed the outer layer here as recommended, and on the back wheel, that fixed wheel, so to speak, you can remove the outer Velcro is approved, not the inner Velcro. And I have found that Velcro is not as slippery as I would like, as have many others. And also it wears out really quickly. I've tried taking that Velcro off too. And when you do, the glued on Velcro, it then scratches your treadmill base. So there really needs to be a solution. You can see over here that it collects a lot of gunk. Again, kind of a problem, but also it wears away, if you can see that as well. Let me see if I can zoom in. It's my first time doing this type of video, so forgive me. You can kind of see it actually gets worn away, and then I had to replace it with additional self-adhesive Velcro. So that's not ideal. What I did then is found this modification by Silva. What he did is put this mouse skate material. So if you look at, say, the bottom of this mouse here, I don't know if you can see that, you've got this material that makes your mouse move more slippery. So he thought that was a great material. The only issue, as you can see here, is that it sits lower than where you would put the learning training wheels Velcro. So for it to be effective, you have to actually remove that layer. And you can see he's using a razor blade here. Here it is. You are going to have to cut up some of the rubber on your shoe to get that off. So you're literally taking a razor blade to your shoes there. So number one, you're damaging the product for hopefully some performance gains, which I'll get to in a moment. You're using a sharp razor blade. Be careful. I recommend the box cutter with a brand new blade, cutting away from yourself, etc. Again, this is all at your own risk. Good luck getting the shoes warranted. That is all at your own risk if you want to try this. And once you've cut it away, what I did at least is I used some super glue. So this is probably never coming off. This is Silva's, and I super glued those mouse skate material here, here, and here. And you can see we've both cut away that fastener there and that fastener there. And then I decided to, this is what I was most concerned about, was gluing that onto the sensors. You can see it's not actually on the sensor itself, it's on the surrounding area. And the slipperiness honestly feels about the same as the Velcro, and I'll show you that here real quickly. So I've got my two pairs there. There's the Velcro. shoe on the left is the Velcro one, and you can see I let them go, and they move pretty much about the same. Granted, that's not me walking on that. I do a walk test as well later, but I'm just trying to show you as objective as a test as I can. Now there, you can see that the one with the skate material kind of slid backwards more, so maybe a little less resistance there. And there it is again. So that is potentially a better mod if you want a slipperier shoe. Okay, you can see I've got the skate material on my right foot and the Velcro on my left, and you see I just tested them out. They seemed about the same walking on the treadmill to me. I couldn't really tell much of a difference, but I think the big difference, if you do want to risk doing this mod, is that it doesn't collect that goo, the silicone lubrication in there, which I think collects less dust, less dirt, keeps your treadmill base cleaner, keeps it from being worn away less, and might even be more durable, so you might have to replace it less. I have only tested that out for a couple hours, so I make no promises like with everything on here. If you only have one pair of shoes, I wouldn't risk that mouse skate mod given the cutting involved. I would just go with the Velcro and replace that as needed. But if you do have a second pair of shoes or want to buy one and try this, then it's a slight advantage. The other thing too is I only had one pair of sensors, so that's why I tested without the sensors there. I did test back to back with sensors, Velcro versus the skate material, and find a slight improvement with the skate material. So probably not worth it for most people to cut up your shoes like that. Next up, we have some 3D printed modifications created by Lupus Warax. You can see here, we have something that goes on the back of the C2 arms. These are battery holders for his Pico. Forget which one exactly, if it's a 3 or 4, but you can see there are some battery holders he has 3D printed, which you can download and print yourself. If you need them, you could maybe even get someone to commission to make them on Etsy. But that's not all he's made. We also have some videos, some other pretty cool mods he's made. These are index controller holders that fit on the back of your C2, which I would really appreciate because I know it's tricky to fit them on the back of mine. He also has made magnetic ones. I believe these are for his Pico again. And you can see there's these little magnetic attachments, so they snap into place, so you can conveniently grab them when on your C2 treadmill. And you can see he's got a beverage holder there as well. I'll show you another clip of that in a moment. So here's a close-up of the beverage can holder there. Again, 3D printed, so pretty cool what people have made here. Here's another mod from VRcade, I hope I'm saying that right, where you can see here he has just taken some command adhesive hooks, put them on the back of his treadmill so they could put a Camelback on there and keep it in place. I actually thought of doing that myself, except it would look really weird for all my videos I make for you guys. So otherwise, I would do that one in a flash because that just seems so convenient. Next, this is a mod of a very different type. You can see here that some users have been waiting for the auto sprint feature to be released. And what that is in some games, you have to click a sprint button before you go from walking speed to running speed because the game requires a button press. And Cat has said they're working on, and they've said more recently here, you can see on the Discord, they've made some progress and they are getting closer to having a feature or auto sprint where when you move fast enough, it will trigger a run speed instead of you having to press the button. Some users have tried to find another way to get some more advanced functionality out of their catwalk. And one of those users is Pixel Fairy. And what he did before he got a C2 is he used some Vive trackers. You can see them on his ankles here, with some software called Natural Locomotion, or NALO for short. And that allows him to walk in place, kind of like with the Loco S devices, but with some increased functionality, because you can see he jumped there. And I'll talk more about my experiences with it in a minute, but he's gotten it to work with his C2 and prefers it in some games because of the jump capability, and the other advantage being the automatic sprint capability. Of course, This requires buying some Vive trackers and base stations. There are alternative ways to do that. I'll let you look into the software yourself if that's something you want to experiment with. I need to give it more tries. I only tried it for a couple hours this afternoon in preparation for this video, and I couldn't get it to work. So you can see there, I got some Vive trackers on my ankles. I usually put them on my shoes. That didn't seem to work. It took a little while to get the calibration going there. And here I am in Into the Radius, and I just couldn't get it to work. But there are a lot of different settings to play with, so it's very likely I'm doing something wrong. But if you have some Vive trackers or other types of trackers, you can check out Natural Locomotion. They have a free demo on Steam for 10 minutes, or you could always just buy it and return it within the return policy if you want to try out that and see how that works. Since I found all of these mods on the Catwalk Community Discord server, I thought it'd only be appropriate to share this video from Terex, who is the owner of that Discord server. It's not a cat-owned Discord, it's a community one. So you can see some other gear that others have tried out on the Discord and what they think works well. So I'll link to his video if you want to check out some cool shooter equipment. Sometimes you want to be able to move the Catwalk C2 around, but it's an extraordinarily heavy device. So without a second person, and even then, it's very difficult to do. So one enterprising user, this would be Helihammer, came up with a way to do that. And you can see here that he's added some casters via bolts to the bottom of a C2 treadmill. Now, also please note, probably not recommended or warranted, not only by adding unapproved equipment to this device, but it is going to make it tippier because you've removed those plastic outer layers, that outer ring that provides additional balance. So yes, this might be convenient to move, but it is going to be tippier, and that certainly could cause some damage. So very much at your own risk, but neat to look at nonetheless. If you want to join the Cat VR Discord and find out more specifications of how he did that, I forget if he has them there or not. But at your own risk if you want it. All right, now I'm going to move into what I think is one of the most exciting mods out there. It certainly was for me. I had a healthy dose of skepticism about it, as you'll see why in a moment. But let me start with a problem here. So with the cat, I know it's a not great photo here. I've kind of zoomed in too much, but I think you'll see my point. With using the silicone lubrication, whether it gets dirty or you use too much of it, it tends to cake up, and even, I don't know if you can even see that there, on the inside of the sensor, which even then I've had it affect the functionality where my sensors don't work. And just go in there and clean out with a Q-tip, no big deal. But is there a better solution? Is there something that doesn't cake up like that and is even slipperier with greater viscosity, I think is the term? Well, another user on Discord, this one chooses to remain anonymous along with his ally for various reasons, did some experimentation into this, did a lot of research, and they found a 70% reduction in friction. It's like being on ice. Pretty big claim there. And furthermore, this lubrication that they found is used on NASA spacecraft and nuclear reactor components, we'll say, and missiles. This stuff made it so friction-free, he felt like he was going to backflip. He tested using various equipment. This individual has some engineering skills that might give away his identity, so he's asking to remain anonymous here, and that's why certain things here have been redacted. You can see a 60-70% increase in friction compared to the silicone oil. It even made it dangerous to use this device with the flaps down or the brakes. So very, very much an at your own risk modification here if you choose to make it. Here's a link for it. For 8 ounces of the stuff, it's $136 on Amazon. So I took a risk. I decided to try this stuff out. You can see a tube of this stuff here. There's different versions. You want the GPL 201. There's different variations. You get all of that for $130 some. Here I go ahead and apply it. You can see it's kind of a thin It's kind of a white paste there. I used about 3 times that amount, and I did wipe off the treadmill with rubbing alcohol to get all the silicone removed. So for control testing, I knew I was testing just this Krytox stuff. Stock shoe. I don't know about you, but my shoes don't move that much generally. And you see, like you said in the comments there, it does roll backwards when he pushed it forward. So pretty impressive there. And it really did seem like glass, pretty slippery. Okay, so that was me testing it with a stock shoe. Later on, I glued on the mouse skate material that I mentioned earlier. And I also tried it with the Velcro material. Okay, there's one shoe stock. And I tested also with a Velcro shoe, my other shoe there. Okay, so then I got on the treadmill, and just to try it out with, you could see right away I nearly slipped, like he said, our anonymous informant there. It is pretty darn slippery. This is with the stock shoes. I didn't use the mouse skate material, and there's some, and actually that was, you can see, and with and without the brake, I found it pretty slippery. A little more resistant with the brake, but not much. In this case, my right shoe was with the Velcro. I did find the right shoe more slippery than the left shoe with the Velcro, more slippery. So you will see a difference with that. And with the Krytox, it does seem to be very, very effective. I almost lost my balance again there. I don't know if you can see by how much I'm leaning and looking down there. So this stuff seemed pretty darn effective. Even when I start doing a run here, I didn't feel much resistance at all. So this stuff is pretty effective and pretty impressive, I think. After I applied the mouse skate material, I did try using the treadmill for a longer period. And with the mouse skate material, you can see I did get some buildup there of the Krytox material. That's not the silicone lube, but notice it's not building up, at least very minimally, around the sensors right there. It is building up around the mouse skate material, but it's not getting caught in the Velcro, which is the big advantage. You can just rub it off and rub it back onto the treadmill, and it doesn't seem to get kind of dried up like it does with the silicone lubrication. So even though it looks like it's building up, it's only because I'm using the mouse skate material, and you can just wipe it off and put it back on the treadmill. So I think this stuff is really effective. It is very slippery. It is very expensive, is really the only downside. And I've only tried it for a weekend now, and I don't know how long it's gonna last and how much I'm gonna have to replace it. An 8-ounce tube doesn't seem like a lot. Maybe this is something I can't afford to keep doing, but if it lasts, it does also seem to protect the base of the treadmill a lot better than silicone oil does. That paste, I think, provides a lot more protection against scratches. Of course, I've already scratched up mine quite a ton, but it does kind of leave like a dull, almost waxy kind of sheen that I think is going to protect the treadmill better. So these are a lot of crazy ideas that I've tried with the C2 or shared with you. I hope you found this interesting. If you want to talk to others on the Catwalk Discord, they're a great resource to try this stuff out. Again, I'd like to stress, this is all at your own risk. It's going to void your warranty, and it might not be safe. So if nothing else, I hope you enjoyed this. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this so more people find my content. Please subscribe so that you will be notified when I create my next video. And please comment with any questions or concerns or just general thoughts. Thank you so much for watching.